Oh, we don't have time for all this. Miyazaki's version of Howl. Well, it's more like the finalized version of Howl. When I saw it for the first time, I mean, this is the impression I got when I saw it the other day. But Howl is basically Miyazaki's alter ego. So, like the comedian Sugi-chan, he's like, I'm wild, on the surface. But Miyazaki is vulnerable inside. And the scary witch, Madame Suleiman, is Takahata. Takahata who treats people like things. Whereas Sophie is like Miyazaki's wife. People say that the reason why Miyazaki goes home, no matter how busy he is because his wife is waiting for him at home. Well, that's what I think. We'll talk about this in the second half. First, I must talk about... He's a devoted husband? Well, if you hear my lecture to the end, you'll understand what I mean. He's not a devoted husband in the ordinary sense, but it is obvious that he is a devoted husband in his own unique way. This Howl's Moving Castle had mixed reviews, almost for the first time in Ghibli history. Some people were moved, but some people complained. At this point of his career, Miyazaki began to believe that animation was for kids, and it should be fun and filled with hope. This was something he believed firmly. But at the same time, he wanted to make a film that was bittersweet and allowed adults to reflect on their lives. So, he created a story with two layers. Kids see it as a fun story with a happy ending, while the adults see it as a bittersweet story that touches their hearts. You can see this double structure in Miyazaki's latter films. His early films like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind or Princess Mononoke had two characters with different views confront each other. It's like the idea of communist revolution that Takahata loves. Miyazaki adopted thesis, antithesis, synthesis into his story. So, Princess Mononoke is a story about a conflict between the world of Mononoke and the human world, and shows the impossibility of their coexistence. Just around the time he made Spirited Away, the double structure emerged. When there's a conflict, it is difficult to end the story with a happy ending. So technically, it was really difficult for Miyazaki to accomplish that. He made it look like a happy ending by having her parents come back at the end. But at the same time, he makes us wonder why Chihiro came back from the world of the dead. So it has a double structure. But in his last film, The Wind Rises, he dumps everything he did in the past and squeezes in everything he has to say. So he entered a wild phase, so to speak, which I kind of like. But Howl's Moving Castle has a double structure. The upper layer is completely for women, a romantic love story. So it satisfies all the ladies looking for a love story. And in the end, Sophie gets her dream house. So it's a complete happy ending. But for some people, this happy ending doesn't make any sense. Some people say that it's too good. So, like I said, the upper layer, it seems like a typical romantic love story for girls. But if you look at the deeper layer, it's a story about a middle-aged man on the verge of old age. So he denies all hopes and romanticism of men. He lays out his own hypothesis, and it's quite interesting. Maybe the word upper layer wasn't right. Maybe it's more like the left layer or the right. The romance in this story is hard to understand, so it makes sense to people who are more familiar with love stories. They're able to enjoy it and say, yes, that is so true. But those who aren't used to these kinds of stories get confused and say, I don't understand these people. At the same time, you need to understand the bittersweet aspect of this story. Otherwise, you'll be bored. It is quite interesting if you understand both sides of the story. So, today I will explain it to you thoroughly. Of course, it's also interesting to see it as a pure love story and see Miyazaki's girly side. So I'd like to break it down because it's hard for us men to understand because we're not as feminine as Miyazaki. Many male viewers think that the story isn't interesting enough, or they say that the line at the ending, I am a prince from the neighboring country, is such a cliche. As a matter of fact, Miyazaki's Howl's Moving Castle is so meticulously designed that it's like perfectly made Lego. It's anything but a cliche. It might be hard to believe, but every single detail in this film is meticulously calculated. That nothing happens by coincidence. The reason why it's so hard to grasp is because we see the whole film from Sophie's point of view. For example, what would happen if you see the castle of Cagliostro from Clarice's point of view?